You're standing beneath an ink-black sky in the year 1604. The olive trees are quiet, the hills lie still, and above 1,000 stars blink faint pinpricks of light that seem frozen, eternal, unchanging. But Galileo knows better. Our story today begins here, in the quiet outskirts of Padua, where a man with a telescope leans forward into the unknown. Galilei stands in the courtyard of his modest home, wrapped in a heavy cloak against the chill. The candlelight flickers behind the window, but he remains outside. His hands rest on polished wood and glass. The telescope he built with his own hands, a long tube, crude by modern standards, but revolutionary. It magnifies the heavens by a factor of 20. With it, he's already seen the moon, not as a smooth, divine sphere, but as a rugged, cratered world, like Earth, imperfect, scarred, real. Tonight, however, he looks elsewhere. A comet has been reported, and the sky, Galileo suspects, will not stay still. His breath fogs the lens. He wipes it gently with a cloth and peers through. This night is not like others. There's a stillness that holds its breath. The stars, he notices, are shifting slightly. And then there it is, a point of light, moving not erratically like a shooting star, but steadily. A planet, perhaps, no, to faint, not known, not yet. He marks its location with chalk on a slate, murmuring to himself in Latin. He'll check again tomorrow. For now, he lets his sighs drift to Jupiter, that bright, golden spark in the east. And as he stares, he sees something extraordinary. Tiny points of light beside the planet. Not stars. They move with Jupiter. Moons. 4 of them. Tonight, they form a perfect line. Tomorrow, one will shift. The next night, another, orbiting, not Earth, but Jupiter. This simple observation changes everything. It's a quiet revolution, unfolding beneath a fall of stars. Until now, the heavens were thought to revolve around us. But these moons suggest otherwise. Galileo doesn't shout. He doesn't wake the city. He simply watches and records. He'll call them the Medicean stars to honor his patrons. But deep down, he knows these moons are proof. The universe is larger, stranger, and more fluid than anyone had dared to believe. Back inside, his study is lined with pages, charts, sketches, notes. The moon's surface rendered in careful shading. Jupiter's moons tracked over weeks, and Venus, Venus. He's noticed something there, too. A series of phases, like the moon, which means it must orbit the sun, not Earth. The pieces fall into place silently, like snow. Copernicus was right. Galileo has the evidence. But evidence is not always welcome. he writes, cautiously. His starry messenger will share what he's seen, but not yet what it means. That will come later, in letters, in debates, in trial. Yet for now, here in the warm hush of his home, the stars remain his comfort. He dips a quill into ink, the tip scratching softly across the page. The surface of the moon is not smooth. He writes, pausing to sip lukewarm tea. Outside, the wind shifts gently. A dog barks once, then falls silent. Galileo lights another candle. He prefers working at night. The house sleeps. The world quiets. Thought flows more clearly in the dark. He remembers his father, a musician and mathematician, who taught him to seek harmony, not just in sound, but in numbers. That influence lingers. Galileo hears music in the orbits, rhythm in the movements of moons. He believes nature is written in a language of mathematics, not divine perfection, but measurable wonder. At dawn, he finally rests. The telescope lies still on the balcony. His notes are stacked neatly, and the stars, now fading with the morning light, seem to nod their approval. Galileo pulls a blanket over his shoulders, leans back in a worn wooden chair, and lets his eyelids lower. He's not seeking sleep, just silence, just stillness. But his mind drifts through constellations. A sky so full of truth, if only we dare to look. He wakes again at twilight. The air is crisp with the scent of drying earth and old stone. Birds call softly from the terracotta rooftops, but their music fades quickly as night returns. Galileo steps out with a lantern in hand, passing fig trees and ivy, each leaf catching the last shimmer of daylight. He climbs the narrow stair to his observatory, tower little, more than a room with a view, but to him it is a gateway. Tonight he is focused on Saturn. The strange oval shape he sees through his telescope baffles him. It's not a perfect circle, nor a single sphere. He sketches what he sees: a body with ears. What he's witnessing are Saturn's rings, though he doesn't yet know it. To Galileo, it is a mystery the heavens have handed him, a riddle waiting centuries for the right eyes to understand. He doesn't mind not having the answer. Discovery is its own reward. In the quiet of this study, he compares notes with Kepler's correspondence, unrolling parchment with delicate fingers. Kepler's laws speak of ellipses, of planets moving not in divine circles, but stretched paths. This matches Galileo's own observations: planets that speed up, slow down, curve against expectation. He admires Kepler's bravery, his hunger to know more than dogma allows. Yet Galileo is more cautious, more political. The Church watches closely, and he must balance wonder with restraint. Still, one cannot unsee the truth, and so he writes, carefully, beautifully. He frames the cosmos with humility, not rebellion. In his dialogue concerning the two chief world systems, he casts the debate between geocentrism and heliocentrism as a friendly conversation, but the message is clear. The earth moves. The heavens do not revolve around us. This will not be forgiven. He's summoned to Rome, interrogated, warned, and then condemned. Not to death, but to silence, house arrest. A brilliant mind, walled in. Yet even then, he does not stop looking up. Even when he is nearly blind, he dictates theories on motion, on gravity, on how the earth pulls objects toward it, and how bodies fall, not because of their weight, but because of the force beneath them. Centuries before Einstein, Galileo sketches the language of motion in shadows. Now, back in his study, a storm brews in the distance. Thunder rumbles like slow timpani. Candlelight flickers across the wooden floorboards. Galileo sits with his fingers resting on the spine of a thick manuscript. He listens not to the storm, but to the ticking of time. He spent his life unraveling the order behind seeming chaos. The moon's scars, Jupiter's children, Venus's light. Every orbit, every tilt, a signature of the universe. He closes his eyes, not to sleep, but to remember. The night on the tower. The first sight of a moon's shadow. The thrill of seeing something no one else had. There is peace in knowing he has seen truth, even if the world resisted. The storm passes. The wind softens. His pulse slows. The candle gutters out. But in the sky, his discoveries remain. Moons still spin around Jupiter. Saturn's rings still shimmer. And the moon, ever imperfect, still turns its scarred face toward Earth. Galileo's world, though now dimmed by age and restriction, remains vivid with memory and motion. He sits at the edge of his study chair, back curved like the crescent moon he once sketched by candlelight. Though blindness veils his sight, he still sees through thought calculations unfolding in silence. Orbit dancing behind his closed lids. He remembers how the Church's Inquisition forced him to whisper the truth, to kneel and recant what his soul still shouted. Perceive, move, and yet it moves. The earth turning gently forever. That phrase lives, quietly etched into the folds of history, like a secret code passed down in starlight. His mind, ever restless, drifts back to Florence. 2 childhood days spent watching shadows stretch across sun-warmed courtyards. Even as a boy, he questioned what others ignored: why lanterns swung in arcs, why bells chimed with a rhythm beyond music. Years later, he would time pendulums with his heartbeat, discovering that their swing was constant, a truth hidden in simplicity. This observation would shape the future of timekeeping. A quiet revolution born not in a lab, but in a cathedral, beneath golden arches and marble saints. Now the hours pass slowly in archetry. The villa is still, save for the rustle of wind through olive trees and the faint creak of bookshelves. Servants tread softly, aware that the man upstairs is not just a prisoner, but a prophet. Some evenings he's visited by young scholars, bright-eyed and reverend, drawn not by fame, but by the soft gravity of genius. They ask questions, and Galileo answers with riddles and stories how tides shift with the moon, how light travels, how even silence speaks if one listens deeply enough. He recounts his long quarrel with Aristotle, whose earthbound ideas once ruled minds like scripture. Galileo tested them, all dropping lead and wood from towers, rolling balls down slopes, watching, measuring. He made physics visible. He turned philosophy into observation. His tools were crude: ramps, water clocks, ink-stained notes. But with them, he rewrote the rules of motion. He showed that nature is not perfect, not heavenly in symmetry, but instead beautifully irregular, governed by laws that apply in heaven and on earth alike. As dusk settles over the Tuscan hills, the air grows cool. Somewhere, a nightingale begins to sing. Galileo, now frail, listens not with ears, but with his whole being. For in every sound, every vibration, there is data. There is rhythm. There is the universe, humming softly to those who dare to hear. He thinks of his daughters, especially Sister Maria Celeste. Her letters so full of kindness, wit, and support remain pressed between pages of his books. She, a cloistered nun, was his closest companion in thought and spirit. When she died young, a light dimmed in his soul, but her memory remains. She believed in him when others faltered. Her words were like candlelight in his darkness. And now, nearing the end, Galileo smiles faintly, not with regret, but with quiet understanding. He's seen beyond dogma, past superstition. He's glimpsed the machinery of the cosmos. He's taught others to look up not with fear, but with curiosity, to wonder, to question, to measure, to seek. Above Arcetri, the sky is clear again. Stars blink slowly, centuries away, yet steady in their glow. Jupiter hangs low on the horizon, its moons invisible to the eye, but not forgotten. Galileo once named them the Medicine stars, gift to the Grand Duke. Yes, but more than that, they were proof that not everything orbits us, that we are not the center, that the universe is vast and wondrous and does not wait for permission to move. And so, the night deepens. Galileo leans back, his breath slows. A final thought brushes his mind, not of trials nor debates, but of that first time, long ago, when he lifted a lens to the sky and saw it not as heaven, but as a place of motion, mystery, and light. And in that stillness, as sleep begins to gather at the edges of awareness, Galileo's last truths drift like constellations across the canvas of memory. His name, once controversial, is now whispered with reverence in halls of learning and in the quiet pages of science textbooks, spoken softly beside words like telescope, Jupiters, moons, and laws of motion. He who was told to stop looking up taught the world to never stop. Outside his window, the olive trees swayed gently in the night breeze, their silver leaves reflecting moonlight in pale glimmers. The sky turns overhead, silent, faithful, endless. Perhaps somewhere a young stargazer lies on a rooftop or in a field, peering through a small lens. Unaware, they are touching the legacy of a man who, 400 years ago, dared to believe that even the heavens could be understood. Back in our setri, the candlelight fades. The quills are still. The scrolls sleep in shadow. Or light his voice, too faint to catch but laced with wonder still. And the stars fall slowly, as they always have. Not for man, not for meaning, just because they do. And so, our story rests here, too, in silence, in shadow, in motion.